Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode with your girl, Audrey Codner from ACG Math Tutoring. Hopefully, you guys are having a good day. Hopefully, I am on. All right, so let's try this again. Well, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Audrey Codner from ACG Math Tutoring. Hopefully, you guys are doing well today on a nice, bright, sunny on Saturday. So, what we're going to be doing is testing some of your math knowledge. Sunny on Saturday. So, what we're going to be doing is testing some of your math knowledge. That was so weird. All right. I got kicked out of my own live. That is crazy. Let's see. Because right now I cannot see any of you guys. All right. I think I can see you guys now. All right. That was weird. Okay. Well, anyway, I see a lot of people. Okay, Angela, I see you. We have we have B, we have Queen with 27, Big G Money with B. Okay, Pressed is 31, User 2231, Megan 31. All right, yes, thank you for the taps. All right, here we go. Yeesh. I don't know what's going on with technology. I'm not sure. All right. So what we're doing, we're basically looking at basic math skills to kind of help you out. So we have 3 cubed plus -2 squared. So a lot of you guys are saying that is 31. So let's take a look. 3 cubed is basically saying 3 raised to the 3rd power. So that's 3 times 3 times 3. So 3 times 3 times 3 gives me 27. Then we want to add our -2 squared. So -2 squared, that means it's going to be -2 times -2. Okay, so since we have -2 times -2, negative times a negative will give me a positive, and it gives me a positive 4. So 27 plus 4, that gives me 31. So 31 is my answer. Okay, it's not going to be -31 because a negative times a negative gives me a positive. All right, yes ma'am, yes sirs. So this one, a little more advanced. Let's see what that is. 5 exclamation point. I know what the exclamation point means. But for those that don't, I'm kind of curious. Do you think the answer is A, 5, B, 120, C, 5 hundredths, or D, 120 thousandths? Exactly. That's why I did not want to say anything. So I do have some people that are like, yeah, I think I know what it is. And some people, if you don't, that's fine. You can put a question mark in the answers. Go ahead and put a question mark if you're like, what is this? Now we got exclamation points. Is it saying 5? Like, why are we yelling, right? Why is it so loud? Okay, thank you so much for your honesty. Thank you. I do have some people saying 120. I do see people that says D, 120. All right. Yes, there we go. We got Angela. Yes, we have some people. We have some E's. We don't have an E. There's no option E. Okay, if you're not sure what it is, just put a question mark. I know you want to be special. Yeah, am I going to solve it? Of course, pretty face. What do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to be like, all right, here's a question. All right, bye. I'm out. Like, no. We're going to give some people some chance to put some stuff in there, right? All right. Just logged on. All right, good. What this exclamation point is really called a factorial. So what the factorial does, whatever number it starts off with, which in this case is a 5, we're going to multiply the numbers that are lower to that up to 1. So if I go backwards with 5 and I try to count to 1, it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So that's exactly what you're multiplying. Your 5 times your 4 times your 3 times your 2 times your 1. Okay, so the factorial tells you the series of numbers that you're going to multiply starting with 5 and ending up to 1. So 5 times 4 gives me 20. Okay, 3 times 2 gives me 6. So 20 plus 6 gives me 120. Okay, so if you learned something today, go ahead and tap up. You're like, I never knew that. Go ahead, give me 1 tap, 2 taps. That's fine. All right. So, I know, right? Okay. Could I repeat that? I could. Okay. I don't know what again means, but we're going to try that again. Would you like for me to repeat? Because we got to use our words, people. All right. Okay. Not a problem. So, factorial. 5 factorial is the same as saying we're starting with this number 5 and we're counting down to 1. And those numbers that we count down to, we're going to multiply. So let's start with 5, then I go to 4, 3, 2, and 1. And what I do is I multiply all these numbers. 5 times 4, that gives me 20. Okay, 20 times 3, that gives me 60. And 60 times 2, that gives me 120. And you all know that anything multiplied by 1 is itself. Same if I said 3 factorial. That means I'm starting with 3. And I'm counting down to 1. So 3 times 2 gives me 6. 6 times 1 gives me 6. Okay? So the number that's in front, you're going to start with that number and you count on down. All right? 4 times 3 is 12, plus 2 is 24. Okay. All right. Are we okay now? All right. Okay. By cheap math textbooks, there's no such thing as cheap math textbooks. I'm just going to let you know. You can be searching for that. That's a holy grail. Okay? Unless you get some used textbooks. I know for us in Baltimore, we have called the book thing, where a lot of people basically donate their textbooks. So if there's any places like that in your area, you can go do that. But I know a lot of the book places where they get donations from, lately they haven't been accepting textbooks. So that's why I say it's basically the holy grail. Okay. All right. So what is the volume of a cylinder with the radius of 4 inches and a height of 6 inches? Is it A, 144 and 4/10 inches? Is it B, 250 and 5/10 inches? C, 301 and 4/10 inches? Or D, 355 and 8/10 inches? Okay, Auntie. All right, so I got a couple old dusty taco. Interesting. It's saying the answer is D. Good. We got D, master trainer with a B. Is that Nisa that said a B? This person said a B. With the ASVAB, yes, it will. Okay, this will help out with ASVAB, GED, Accuplacer, TEAS test, HESI test, IBEW, everything from A to Z. If it has algebra in it, you're in the right live. Okay. All right. So I have C's, I have D's, I have A's. So we got a whole mixture. So this is probably like, well, what is the formula for the volume of a cylinder? Well, one, we know that volume. Cylinder has the area of the base times the height. So the area of the base of a cylinder, most cylinders, if I may do my little sketch, we have a round bottom. We got some circles here. Think of a can, okay? Just a regular old can of corn or beans or whatever. So the area of the base is a circle. So the area of a circle is pi r squared. And now we're going to multiply with the height. That's the volume of a cylinder. So now they're giving us a little bit of information. They tell us that our radius is 4 inches, and they tell us that our height is also 6 inches. So it's great. We don't have to do any conversion. Everything is in inches. So now I'm going to do a little bit of substitution. So for my radius, I'm going to put a 4. So I got my pi. Going to put the 4 in there. So here we go with the 4. And then my height, which is 6 inches, I'm going to put that in place of the h. So now, 4 squared. What's 4 squared? What do we got? Okay, what do we got? Thank you, R. We got that. We got 16. Blitz fan, good. Angela, good. Big Al, good. Dana, good. Dressa, Dina, Cy, Big Daddy. Okay, so we have our 16. So we have the 16. And we're going to multiply it by the 6. Now, to help you out with the pi. Now, a lot of us will know that pi is 3.14. Notice that they are doing a lot of rounding. Now, remember, pi is a long number, and they do not have anything in terms of pi. What that means, if I look at the answers and I actually see the symbol for pi in here, that means all I have to do is just bring down the pi symbol and just multiply the 16 and the 6. But with 16 times 6, that gives me my 96. So we got 96 pi. What would happen if I just, because remember, this is a timed test. So we are going to have to do, and especially with the GED, the ASVAB, you can't use a calculator. Same thing with the Accuplacer. So that means we're going to have to take our 3.14, that's rounded with pi, times it by my 96. Now, if I wanted to, I could just multiply that 96 by 3 just to give me an idea of where I'm going to be looking, so I can do what's called process of elimination. So the reason why just 3 is part of pi. Pi is 3.14 rounded. That's the most famous one. But if I just take the 3 and multiply it by 96, it will kind of help me do process elimination. I know my answer should be larger than 288 because remember, I took away that point or that 14 hundredths. So right away, if we're at 288, I can cancel out A. I can also cancel out B. So now I'm between C and D. Well, point 14 is not going to take me to like 355. It'll probably take me closer to 301. Let's see if that trick worked by actually doing the multiplication. 6 times 4, that gives me 24. Carry the 2. 6 times 1 is 6 plus 2 is 8. 6 times 3 is 18. Okay, didn't have anything to carry. 9 and 4 is 36. So I put the 6 underneath the 10 slot because the 9's in the 10th place. 9 times 1 is 9 plus 3. That gives me 12. Carry the 1. 9 times 3 is 27 plus 1 gives me 28. Add these two bad boys together. So we have our 4. We have 8 and 6, that's 14. 8 and 2 is 10 plus 1 is 11, carry it over. 8 and 1 plus 1, that will give me 10, carry the 1. And 2 and 1 gives me 3. Since we have 2 decimal places here, 0 decimal places here, that means our answer is going to be in 2 decimal places. Starting behind the 4, I'm going over 1, 2. Put my decimal. So I have 301.44, but since it's round to the 10th spot, you know if it's 5 and above, we give it a shove. If it's 4 and below, we leave it alone. So our answer is definitely C. Okay. All right. Okay, that's fine. All right, awesome. Okay, not a problem, Nebraska. So that's what you can do. So if you feel like, based on time, to kind of shave a little bit of that time, a lot of people, when they take the GED, for the longest time, you haven't been in school, right? You're taking a test, you're relying on your skill set, and then you're used to taking your time when you don't understand something that you try to analyze it. But when it comes to these type of assessments, analyzing is what kills you out, okay? So it's all based on time. Basically, you're going to be given, all right, GED, I think it was a minute 12, okay, for each of the problems. Now, by recent, I don't know what's going on, but I had a gentleman take to ASVAB this week, actually raised the score enough to get a higher score than what he was expecting. And he said that they basically gave him like about a minute per question. So if you need to take a timer out and to figure out how long is a minute, please do that. Because there are going to be some questions, just like this one that we did, that you'll know less than a minute. So that extra time can go into some of these questions, okay? So I just wanted you to know that part. Now, because you're going to get a question like this, okay? In the logarithm, 83723, what is the 4 called? Is it A, property, B, I think Montesa, C, I always say it wrong, whole log, or D, character? You're going to be like, say what? Okay. And last year you passed the GED. Well, congratulations, Juan. Welcome. Okay. Give me a moment. I will scroll back up to it. Okay. Now, trust me, if you're just like, I have never heard that before. Okay. Yep. If you know them, definitely use them. Exactly. All right. So what is the 4 called? And I know a lot of you guys are guessing because the way that you guys are putting your answers and it seems a little slow. You're like, I don't know. I'm just going to guess. Okay. So some people are saying C, the whole log, or D, the characteristics. So we're between C and D. Okay. Exactly. Over 15 years. Exactly. All right. All right. So the answer to this, the 4, the number that's in front, that is your characteristic, okay? It's not the whole log. Now, all this stuff that's after the decimal point, that is called the man. I always call it manatee, and I'm always wrong. Mantisa, I think it's called. All right, see? So I can tell you, like, if you're like maybe Gen Z, we didn't learn that. They never taught us that. It's not until later years they started introducing that, the bits and pieces. So do not feel bad, okay? Yep, we just know it as log, right? So how do we know it's a log? Because they told us it's logarithmic. Okay. Yep, it is your decimal part. Yes, it is. All right. Exactly, Gen Z, exactly. They never taught us that, Z or X. Well, especially X. All right. Okay. So let's continue on. I love that you guys are tapping. I would love for you guys just to tap. I don't want to take any information away. If you can, just go ahead and tap. If you're willing to give a little gift here and there so I can hit my gift goal, that'd be great. If you want to be a part of my Mathletes community, there is a heart right next to my name. Go ahead and click on that so we can get you up and moving. All right. Oh, sorry. Here you go, Sharon. I'm sorry. So take a quick pic of it. Whoops. Okay, I'm going to take it away in like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There you go. What is an example of it? It's what's after the decimal point. Yeah, what's after the decimal point? Landon's girlfriend. Okay. All right. You got it? All right. Okay. So, thank you for the rose. Appreciate it. All right, so solve for x. We have 3/4 of 68 plus 1/4 x equals 70. Does x equal A, 42, B, 76, C, 53, or D, 81? Okay, so for those that are using your calculators, remember, if you're taking the GED, the ASVAB, and the Accuplacer, you cannot use a calculator. You're going to have to do things manually. So you need to practice how you play, okay? Because you don't want to sit here relying on the calculator and then all of a sudden it's time for you to take the test and you're wondering why is it taking you so long to divide like 256 by 7? Because now you got to do it manually, okay? The way that you learn, the way that you process is the same way that you're going to have when you go and take the test, okay? All right. So we have some 76s, we have some Bs, we have some Bs. I have a C, a couple Bs. Joe is saying 76, which is B. K8 is saying B. Okay. Adam May is saying B. Thank you so much. Thank you for the info. Okay. Wizzy is saying B. I think I've missed a couple people. Okay. Brian saying B. Okay. MJ saying 76. Diz. What's up, Diz? Saying 76. Is that Val? PNB is saying B. All right. So 4 is a characteristic. Yes, it is Landon's girlfriend. There we go. Okay, now we're up to Snow. Say Landon saying D, Gig saying B, X saying A, Anthony with a B, Anna with a D. It's 76. Okay, what's the answer? Well, Joe, keep your pants on. You'll be all right. All right, so we got B's. Let's see the work. Ew. I don't know about your home training, but you better get it together, boo. That's not what we do here, okay? Appreciate you. Okay. Ivana saying B. Thank you. Welcome on in. You're stuck on the fraction. All right, let's go. So we have 3/4. Here we go. You have 3/4 of 68. Okay, plus your 1/4 of x. Now, learn to appreciate the fractions, because fractions is nothing but division. So what you could do with that 3/4 of 68, so we could take that 68 and we could divide it by 4. So 68 divided by 4, boom, boom, will give me 17. So now we want to take our 17 times 3, and that gives me 51. Okay? The reason why I know that 68 and 4 will be able to be divisible of each other is because they're both even. Okay? So if I'm going to split something 4 ways and it's even, it's going to even out. So how many 4s can go into 6? 1. Then I will have 6 minus 4 gives me 2. Bring down the 8 will be 28. Then how many 4s can go into 28? It's 7. That's where the 17 came from. Now I'm multiplying this whole number of 17, which now this 3 is a whole number. So 17 times 3, 3 times 7 gives me 21. So I put down the 1, carry the 2. 3 times 1 gives me 3 plus 2. That's where the 5 came from. Now I'm bringing down my 1/4 x is equal to 70. So now we're going to subtract 51 on both sides, because what we're trying to do is isolate our variable. And our variable right now is the x. So I got my 1/4 x. And then when we do 70 minus 51, borrow from the 7 to make that into a 6. Make that into a 10. Now 10 minus 1, that gives me 9. And 6 minus 5 gives me 1. So now we want to get x by itself. So what we could do is multiply by the reciprocal, or just multiply by the denominator since our numerator is 1. So if I multiply by 4, whatever I do on one side, I have to do on the other side. Doing this so I can cancel out the 4s, so I got 1x. And 1x and x means exactly the same thing. Okay, so now this is the part where I'm going to start doing the beginning and then comparing. So if I multiply 9 and 4, I get 36. So that means in my ones place, I'm going to get a 6. So I'm looking at my answer choice in the ones part to see which one is a 6. So we should be looking at 76. That should be my answer. But since you want to see it, that means I'm going to carry the 3 here. So 4 times 1 gives me 4. 4 plus 3, that's 76. Okay? Anywhere where I can shave a couple of seconds, that will be the best thing for you. You want to do POE, P-O-E, process of elimination. When it comes to any of these standardized tests, break it down so you're not looking at, oh, I got 4 answer choices. No, you might be able to do something to do a process of elimination. You might knock it down to 2 answers, or like we did here, we're able to knock it down just to the 1. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. All right. So let's take a look. So I don't want to stop the train, but if we can keep it going, we got like, 1,100 people in here? If you can show a little love with the taps, that would be great. And I know you're like, I'm trying to learn and I can't learn and tap at the same time. It's too much. But when we're in between and you see there's more explanations, you can tap and see at the same time. I appreciate that. Oh, thank you, Bobby. Appreciate that. All right. What grade level is this? Because I don't think I really made it far past 9th grade. Okay, so this is actually used for GED, ASVAB type thing. So there's a lot of Algebra 1. There's some, especially the logarithms, there's Algebra 2. So there's a combination of stuff here. So I can't say it's one particular grade level. Okay. All right. Yep. All right. That's why you became a marketing major. All right, Joel. So let's take a look. What is the sum of the angles measured of a hexagon? Is it A, 360 degrees, B, 540 degrees, C, 720 degrees, or D, 900 degrees? So what is the sum of the angle measures of a hexagon? Okay. Oh, well, thank you. All right, so I'm seeing some 540s. I'm seeing a couple A's. I got my C's. I got an A. Curtis is giving me a B. We got a follow. Thank you, Purpose Mother. Digital Dad got C. Nicholas C. 540, you think? Okay. Feel like a hexagon. Good. Don't know? That's fine. I'm going to show you. Okay? So we got some C's, got some B's, got Lauren with a B. Okay? You got a Batman symbol. Dun, dun, dun. All right. We have B, Z is saying B. Tie. Did I skip somebody? Okay, I missed the last question. Was the answer 76? Yes, Ty, it was. Feel like a hexagon has 6 120 angles, so you're going to guess C. Okay. Okay, we got C's, got B's, C's, we got a D. Okay. Here we go. We got the 720. Okay, we got our math coach kind of showing up a little bit. So we got our A's, we got our C's, got our B's. All right. We got fit squared, fit. All right. So, all right. User, again, were you guys hugged as children? What's going on? We're going to give people credit when credit's due. If this is too slow for you, that's fine. There's plenty other people that are doing this. Okay? Maybe they're not like me, but it's okay. All right? Chill, relax, listen to the music. Okay. So, hexagon, first off, hex rhymes with sex. Sex is how they used to say 6 in Europe. So this is a 6-sided figure, okay? So, if you think of it this way, with a 6-sided figure, here's my lovely drawing. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's terrible. But anyway, I should angle it off like this. 5, 6. There we go. Ignore the little drapery of earrings here. It's almost like a head. All right. If I look at one of the vertices and I connect segments to each of the vertices, I just drew 1, 2, 3, 4 triangles. Okay? So if you understand that one triangle, the angles, the sum of the angles of one triangle is 180 degrees. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. Four times 0 is 0. 4 times 8 is 32. Carry the 3. 4 times 1 is 4 plus the 3 gives us 720. So if you get stuck and you know how many degrees is a triangle, you can pick any one of the vertices. It doesn't matter. I just picked this one because it was there. And you notice the number of triangles is 2 less the number of sides. Okay? So the number of triangles is 2 less the number of sides. So this is how they developed the formula. Ready? You're like, there's a formula? Yes, there is. They take the number of sides, which is my n, subtract by 2, because for our 6-sided figure, we had 4 triangles. That's how many triangles we did. 2 less. And you multiply it by 180. This is the formula. That's how the formula is derived. Okay, does it work for our octagon? Yes. Octagon, octo, 8 sides. So that means when you draw, you're going to have 6 triangles. Then you multiply 6 times 180. Bada boom, bada bing, you got your answer. Okay? Now, the one thing, especially, there you go, Leo, thank you, but make sure you multiply it not by 2, but multiply it by 180. Okay? No, you're right there. You're right there. You're good. All right? So here's the other thing. If you're going into the military, please, for heaven's sakes, a 5-sided figure is a pentagon. You especially need to know that. Okay? Please. I don't want you to go and make a fool out of yourself, because they will call you out on it. All right. Lesson learned from one of my former students. Okay. All right. How do you get 180? So user, who is it? 53. The sum of the angles of a triangle is 180 degrees, regardless if it's right, acute, obtuse. The sum, all three of those angles, always equals 180 degrees. Okay. Yep, you're trying to join? All right, Rando. Let's get it. So, here we are. In order to determine the diagonal of a rectangle, the formula is d squared equals L squared plus W squared. D is your diagonal, L is the length of the rectangle, W is the width. If D equals 5 and L equals W plus 1, what is the width of the rectangle? Is it A, 3, B, 4, 5 is C, and D, 6? Okay, give you some time. Give you some time. Okay, Arctic Fox, I see you. So you're going to plump. Okay, you guys figure that part out. So plump, you just pick one of its corners and you draw two opposite corners. That's how you know. You don't draw right next, because then you're not making a triangle. You draw out. Okay? Ooh. Yep, I try to come every day. There's some days it gets a little too cray-cray because I have tutoring. Okay. Yep, math is kind of cool. All right, so I'm getting some answers of 6, some of 3. I have a D with a 6, a 4 with spiritual warrior. I think there was some earlier. Yep, we had C with M, Texas with B. I think. Thank you, May. Yes, we don't need to have stress when we're doing math. Sometimes that's why most of us have trauma when it comes to math. We call it math phobia. We had trauma at a young age. And when I was a young child, I had teachers that were very abusive. Like, why did you not know this? It's crazy. How often? I try to do these like every day. Once in a while, I might focus on one concept. I haven't done that in a couple of weeks, though. Okay, no problem. Oh, you spotted triple. Mm-hmm. You spotted triple? Okay. All right. Yep, so I do also online tutoring. So I do a lot of that. All right, so got some A's, got some question marks. Hello, Rosette. Okay. All right, still got some A's. All right, got a few more A's. Let's take a look. So we have our formula. So they're giving us our diagonal squared with the length squared plus the width squared. Okay, so they're telling us that our D is going to be 5. So this is going to be our 5 squared. They're also telling us that our length, and I'm going to put it in parentheses because it's an expression, is W plus 1. And we're looking for our width squared. So we're going to see a little bit with factoring. Anytime I see squares, all of a sudden, boop, I know I'm going to be doing some kind of factoring. So 5 squared, that is not 10. Stop it. Okay? So 5 squared means 5 times 5. 5 times 5, that gives me my 25. Now, I have to multiply this W plus 1. Some of you guys may recognize it as W plus 1 times W plus 1. Okay? And then I bring down my plus W squared. So this part I'm going to do in a different color. There is a shortcut to this part, but let me show you this way. So I don't want to confuse too many people. Now, we're going to do distributive property. You guys know it as FOIL. But then every time I call it FOIL, you're just like, which one's first? Which one's outer? And then you just get lost in the sauce about which one's the F, which one's the O, the I, the L. Just take your first term and multiply it to everything in the second parenthesis. So W times W, that gives me W squared. When you add W and W, that gives you 2W. But when you're multiplying, you're talking about exponents. Now W plus 1, that gives you just a plain old W. Okay? There's a 1 that's understood in front of the W. You can write it down. It's not going to hurt anything. Now I'm going to distribute this positive 1 to everything inside the parenthesis. So 1 times W, that gives me another W. Now 1 times 1, that gives me 1 squared, which is just 1. Okay? Ones are nice and easy. So right here in its center, like I said, W plus W, that will give us our 2W. The plus 1 and the W square, that comes on down. Same as, where's my green? I'm going to bring down the equal sign. I'm going to bring down my 25. And I'm also going to bring down that plus W squared that was all the way up there. So this is when people are like, I don't know what's going on. Let's do this. Cover this so you can focus on this. All right? So it's easier when you can cover things up and you can just focus everything on there. I need to put my hand on here. I'm starting to go through my my moment. All right? So now, what can we combine? Exactly, Angela. There we go. So now we can combine our W squared and our W squared. So that gives me 2W squared. Okay. Then I still have my plus 2W plus 1. But it's equaling 25. Now that my highest degree is to the second power, that means I need for this equation to equal 0. So the easiest way, because plus it gives me my leading coefficient, which is this 2, a positive number, I'm going to subtract that 25 and I'm going to put it with my 1. The reason why I need for this bad boy to equal 0. So now we have 0 equals our 2W squared plus 2W. But now it's going to equal a negative 24. Okay, because 1 minus 25 gives me negative 24. Okay, let me slide this down so we can focus on this. Now, as I said, anything that I see raised my highest degree is to the second power, I'm doing some factoring. So the first thing you should ask yourself when you're factoring is, do I have a GCF? Do I have a greatest common factor? Okay, all right. Yep, just stay with the sauce. Stay with the sauce. Okay, 2's. Yes, not 6, but 2's. Okay, the greatest common factor, a number through multiplication that 2's and 24 are both seen. They're both seen in the 2's times table. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide everything by 2. I want to strip it down, so I'm going to put it into numbers that I understand. So if I divide everything, including this 0, by 2, and I'm going to continue writing it on my paper, I'm going to just write right here on my paper, so we got that much. So 0 divided by 2 gives me 0. 2 divided by 2 gives me 1, and I can just bring down my w squared. 2 divided by 2, that gives me 1, so it'll be a plus w, or 1w. Negative 24 divided by 2, that gives me negative 12. Now this is the part where everyone's going to be like, oh, yeah, this is too hard for me. I got to stop. If you're going to take the GED and the ASVAB and the Accuplacer, these are those 4-point questions, especially GED. If you can get one of the factoring problems done, and not one, like probably like a good 3 of them, which is slope, equation of the line, factoring, get 4 or 3 or 4 of those, and then do well with the other arithmetic, you'll pass the GED. So these are the things you can't skip. If you skip any of those 4-point questions, you're not going to pass. You're never going to pass because they calculate it that way. Okay? So you got to stick with me. Okay? Now, if we take a look right here, I have 1 is my leading coefficient. I have a 1 that is the coefficient for the w, and I have a negative 12. So since my leading coefficient is 1, I'm going to factor it with 2 parentheses. And I'm going to split my w's. Okay, so there's 2 of those w's. One's going in one parenthesis, the other is going in the other parenthesis. Now this part is the hard part. You're like, what? That's not the hard part? No. Unless you know your multiplication facts, this is what's happening. I want to know what 2 numbers multiplied will give me negative 12 and add to give me 1. So what 2 numbers multiplied together will give me a negative 12 and add together to give me a 1. Good. I'm seeing 4's and negative 3's, 4's and negative 3's. If I do negative 6 and 2, yes, that will give me a negative 12. But if I do negative 6 plus 2, will that give me a 1? No, it wouldn't. So we need a positive 1. So that means we have 4 and 3. The 4 is going to be positive, and the 3 is going to be negative. If you're not sure, let me slide right here. Because if I do 4 plus negative 3, that will give me a positive 1. If I did negative 4 plus plus 3, this will give me a negative 1. If I did negative 6 plus 2, that will give me a negative 4. We're looking for a positive 1. So that's why this combination works not only for multiplying the negative 12, but it also works for the positive 1. And you place your answers in each of the parentheses. Yep. Because if I choose the 4 to be negative, that means I'm looking at a negative 1. I don't want a negative 1. I want a positive 1. So the signs and the numbers do matter. because 4 times 3, 4 times negative 3 gives me negative 12. And 4 plus negative 3 gives me the positive 1. So it's a negative 3, positive 4. Okay. Now, for us to get, we're almost there. So if I take a look, I'm going to set each of those parentheses equal to 0. Some people can see it right away. Some people need the steps. So that's why I'm doing the steps. So what I mean by setting them equal to 0, that means W plus 4 is going to equal 0. And W minus 3 is going to equal 0. So if I want to solve this one for W, I would have to subtract 4 on both sides. Okay, these will cancel. I don't need the 0 to be represented because we don't need it as a placeholder. But then 0 minus 4 gives me negative 4. Over here, I'm going to have to add 3. So I have W is equal to 3. So they want to know, let's go right back to the beginning. They want to know what the width of the rectangle is. So what we just found is our W, the width. Which one makes sense? Which one makes sense? Okay, 3. Okay, yes. There you go. Exactly, Leo. There you go, Michael. There we go, Matthew. Rosette, yes. Test squared. Hey, Diane, yes. Not the negative. Yes. Good. Yes. There we go. We can't have a negative width. Okay? The only thing when it comes to measurements, you always want to shoot for the positive. So your answer here is going to be 3. Okay? I know, it's a lot. It's a lot. And everyone's like thinking like, oh, in the military, it's so easy to get in there. This is like a question that you would see, I think he said, roughly if you get into like the mid or early 60s. So if you're looking at a minimum of 31, so that's adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, fractions, decimals, looking at percent, doing distance, finding like basic skill stuff, what's the patterns. But then you start advancing, and I'm talking about the ASVAB test. You start doing advancement. So then once you start seeing like slope, equation of the lines, you're like in the late 50s, mid to late 50s. If you start seeing factoring, you're going to be in the 60s. If you start seeing volume, you're in the mid to late 60s. If you start seeing like composite figures or compound figures, that means you're in the 70s. It's a progression when it comes to the ASVAB. So like if you know your weakness is your multiplication facts, start there. If you know that your weakness is fractions, start there. Develop those things. And those are the premise, if I may say, the foundation for a lot of these standardized tests. Okay? So don't just sit there like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't know what to do. Then you know what? What are we going to do to improve ourselves so we can pass this test? Okay? Well, I just want to go in the military to do this. Okay, but guess what? You got to pass this. This is part 1. There's another part to the ASVAB. I hope you guys know that. All right? Yes. Your brain is freezing? Hey, wake it up. Okay? Is your brain? And that's fine. But see, here's my thing. You have control of what goes in and out of your brain. Okay? Some people, it may take longer to do processing, that's fine. But you have to feed it in order for it to process. So if you just sit and you just scroll on through and let me look at another cat video, or okay, what's the latest music video? How is that helping you achieve your goal? Okay, sometimes I gotta be tough love on here. All right, so we really gotta get that up. Okay, so we got, what is the length of the hypotenuse of the right triangle if the legs are 5 inches and 6 inches? So is it A, 6.7 inches? Is it B, 7.8 inches? Is it C, 8.1 inches? Or is it D, 9 inches? Keep it clean, people. Keep it clean. Okay. I know, it's crazy. Okay. Hypotenuse, yes, of right triangles. Okay. All right. So, seeing combinations, seeing some things. Everyone thinks it's this, but it's not. All right, so let's take a look. So we're talking about a right triangle. Anytime they're talking about hypotenuse, the hypotenuse is your longest side. So basically the side that's directly across from your 90-degree angle, that's going to be your hypotenuse. All right, that's your longest side. The other two sides, they're called your legs. So that's a leg and that's a leg. Now, they're giving us some information. They're saying that we got one leg that's at 5 inches, another leg that's at 6 inches. And they want us to figure out what the hypotenuse is. So, we are going to do what? Pythagorean's theorem. So you have your a squared plus b squared equals c squared, right? Your c is always represented by your hypotenuse. Your a and your b are your legs. They're interchangeable. So that means it doesn't matter if I put the 5 here for the a or I put the 5 here for the b. You're going to get the same answer, all right? So here we go. We have like 6 squared plus 5 squared is going to equal our unknown squared. Okay. I know that 6 squared, that gives me 36. I can get rid of this for a second. I know my 5 squared is 25. 36 plus 25, 6 and 5 is 11, carry the 1. 3 and 2 is 5, plus 1 will give me 6. So 61 equals c squared. We don't want to know the square of c, we want to know what just c is. So how we can do that? We're going to do the inverse of a square, which is a square root. Squares and square roots are inverses of each other. They cancel each other out. So what's left is c equals the square root of 61. And you're probably saying, well, Audrey, I'm looking at our answer choices here, and how am I supposed to know where square root of 61 is if it's not one of those perfect square roots? Well, let's think of numbers that are below and above 61 that are perfect square roots. So let's say we have the square root of 64. And square root of 64, that gives me a whole number of 8. Okay, so the next one down will be 7. Because if we got 8 here, one down would be 7. 7 squared, that gives me 49. So the square root of 49. So square root of 61 that's somewhere in between 7 and 8. So then when you look, which of my answers are going to fall between 7 and 8? It will be B. That's how you're going to do it. So that means we need to know our multiplication tables. That means we need to know our perfect squares and square roots and some parts of the cubes and cube roots. Okay? That makes sense? Okay, good. All right, so this is how we break some of these things down. All right, thank you. How did I get 64? Well, the square root of 64, it's a perfect square root. I tried to think of my perfect square roots. So I know square root, I was just using what will be a number that's perfect, that's going to be bigger than 61, which was 64. By knowing this, what will be the next perfect square root? Well, that'll be the square root of 49. And square root of 49 gives me 7. So that's how I had to figure out where would this square root of 61 will lie. Okay, so there are going to be some things that you're going to have to remember. 1, your multiplication facts. 2, your perfect squares and square roots, especially up to like 15. And 3, your perfect cubes and cube roots. If you can get up to 5, that's good enough. If you can do more than 5, that's wonderful. Now, because of that, I made myself a math notebook because of all these facts that people keep forgetting. And I usually do all my notes in here. But what I do have in the back of my book is a factor sheet as well as a sheet that has all the perfect squares and square roots, as well as all the perfect cubes and cube roots, all the way up to 15. Okay, so I have those. And when we were trying to do the factoring, I also have, oh wait, hold on. Got this whole sliding stuff. I guess just to make sure that we're here. Okay, the other thing I have is like the factors chart. I have a factors chart from 1 all the way to 200. Okay, so I do have these as resources that are inside my books. Okay, all right. So I will show you in a few where you can find that. And I think someone asked, hey, can I see and take a screenshot of, let me do this. Someone asked for a screenshot for number 7. So I'll give you that. And then the next thing I'm going to tell you. Yep, definitely. So here's another thing. If you like the live, which I think a lot of you guys are liking it and enjoying it, this is where you can go to get your replay. Okay? So all of my replays are here. Go here, go here. And if you can do this, that will be awesome. Okay? So you'll see a bunch of my replays since February the 2nd. So we may, and that's the one thing about a lot of these lives that I do, it's a mixture. But you might want to have more work on factoring. You're probably like, okay, I did that whole factoring thing and that was crazy. So how can I do all of this again? So if you go here, okay, I actually did a couple lives breaking down factoring. Okay, I've done a couple lives breaking down exponents. I've done a few lives breaking down radical functions, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing fractions, decimals. Okay, all of that is listed there. Okay, so that's another place where you can go. All right, so if you are interested in the books, you can either go to the big A. Okay, a lot of my math notebooks are listed there. I also have my own bookstore that I sell them out. So you can either go here or you can go to the big A. And they're like the big A, you know, the brown box with the smile on it that almost everybody uses every blessed day, but we're supposed to not use. How can we unuse that, right? Okay. Can't say the A on here or it'll shut down the live or I'll get a ding or something like that. Okay. Yep. Can't even say that. Isn't it crazy? It's freaking ridiculous. But anyway. So, but you can, at least when you order it there, you can get it like overnight if you have Prime and all that stuff. But this one will take about roughly a week once you order. Okay. All right. But it is cheaper in price. So you have that. Also, little plug, if you want one-to-one tutoring for my TikTok followers, I normally charge my tutoring $92 an hour. I'm not even going to lie to you. I'm very transparent because I'm very good at what I do. But now for my TikTok followers, I'm doing it for $77. So, hey, if you need some assistance with your ASVAB, with your GED, or maybe you're taking college algebra class. I'm starting to do a lot of people with that. If you need assistance with your college algebra class and you know the class is going mad fast and you want someone to break down or translate what exactly the teacher is trying to say, or maybe you have a professor that's like did 2 examples and then they said, okay, you do the rest. And you're like, but that looks nothing like the examples that you just showed. You can contact me for tutoring, okay? Okay, how often what? Sorry. How often, whatever you need, you know? Okay. Teach on Taylor series. What's a Taylor series? Teach on Taylor series? What's a Taylor series? Okay, do I have a pre-calc? AP pre-calc? No, I'm sorry. AP pre-calc can go back to the depths of hell, which it came. I'm sorry. But statistics, I do not. I have the basic statistics, but I do not tell. I've never heard of Taylor series. Maybe it's a district thing. Let's go senior algebra 3. Okay. All right, definitely. How much it costs for tutoring? Tutoring is $77 for my TikTok followers. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm serious. I mean, they just made up. Oh, let's do AP pre-calc. What's next? AP algebra? Let's do AP finger painting. What's next? When's it ever going to stop? Okay. What was the A link? Oh, the A link, you should just type in, you can type my name for the A. If you need anything from the A, you can just type in Ultimate Math Notebook or just type my name, Audrey Codner. That's fine. $77 an hour. Yes, I normally charge $92. So I'm taking a huge cut. Yep, it's an hour. Yeah, I know the class goes super fast and they assume that you know stuff, but they all forgot that we had something called a pandemic and a lot of your basic skill set, you didn't learn. You didn't learn. Okay. What you missed? A lot. At least you had breakfast. I haven't had breakfast. It's not even breakfast time anymore for me. But I'm here. I'm here to educate and to teach. Okay. But don't worry. Give me some time and you can go here. Okay. It's all being recorded. No. It's off an hour. No 30-minute because trust me, you're not going to need 30 minutes. You're going to need the full hour. I know you're trying to do it financially, but you're going to need the full hour. Trust and believe. Okay. All right. Because I tried to do groups, but here's the thing. Everyone's schedule is different, and that's the reason why I was like, okay, I'm going to stop trying to do like tutoring session groups. Okay. Not a problem. How often do I do these lives? Basically, every day. Unless I have like a lot. Like last Thursday, I couldn't come on. I had way too many tutoring sessions. Jenny! Jenny! All right, Michael's with the B's, with the B's, with the B's. These types of questions appear on SAT. Yup. Yes, it does. SAT, how are you? SAT goes all the way up and includes Algebra 2. So this is the reason why I don't like these PSATs. But they did make some tweaking, which is great. But if you're currently taking Algebra 2 and you're taking the PSAT, you haven't learned everything yet. So then you're sitting here taking a test where some of the stuff you're like, I have never seen that a day in my life. Of course not, because we haven't gotten back to that in the chapter. That's why they always do it in October. I swear they do it purposely. So what time do I start? Random times. And yes, I do not do calculus or limits. Sorry. But if you are serious about looking for a tutor, I got people that you can follow. Okay. All right. So some of you guys probably came a little bit later. For those that don't know, these exclamation, it doesn't mean 4 divided by 3 and you're screaming at the top of your lungs. Like, no. Or you're just excited. Oh my God, it's a 4. The factorial, that's what that symbol stands for. Okay. It's where we're going to start, which is 4, and we're counting down to 1. And you're multiplying. So 4 factorial means 4, I'm starting at 4, and I'm counting down to 1, and I'm multiplying each of the term. So it'll be 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. Now, it's over 3 factorial. And 3 factorial is 3 times 2 times 1. What do you notice? Okay, what do you notice? Okay, we can multiply it. There we go, Ty. There, we can cancel out 1, but we can also, there you go, local. Thank you. Yes, Ty, there we go. Entrepreneur, good. We can cancel out. Remember, if you have the same number, think of it. 3 divided by 3, that gives me 1. 2 divided by 2, that gives me 1. 1 divided by 1, that gives me 1. So when you have this division, anything times 1 is going to be itself. The answer is B. So the key part of this problem is knowing what is a factorial. Okay? All right, good. Right. Okay, some people will do it like this. Let me use a different color. Some people will say, okay, I got the 4 factorial, so that means 4 times 3 factorial. And if I'm dividing by 3 factorial, you can cancel those bad boys out and still get the answer of 4. Okay? If you feel like putting them all out, you can do that. Okay? Oh, thank you, Janae. Yes. Please store that. Okay. All right. Let's go. All right. So we're going to here. Probably see if we can do ourselves like maybe. Let's see if we can finish this page and then we'll just pause and we'll continue on tomorrow. So you never knew that? Hey, you learned something. If you learned something new, go ahead and tap the screen. You know, you could make a quick little tip tap. All right. If you learned something new today, go ahead and put little tip taps on there. Okay. Yeah, it was in the very beginning. It was in the very beginning. What math is this? Well, that problem is actually Algebra 2 with the factorials. It really should be Algebra 1, but we teach the factorial. Well, we might do second semester, like 4th quarter factorials. But I know we do it in Algebra 2 as well. All right, good. Yep. not a problem. All right, so now we're going to solve. Oh, and there's one. Ooh, hold on. I'm so sorry. I forgot. There's one thing. They forgot to put a number at the end. Don't you love when you find errors in like other people's stuff and then you contact them and they're like, what? And then they come back like, oh, you're right. Thank you so much. Love that. It's like power. It's like the rage. You're like, well, in order for that to happen, it's like, oh, yeah, we did forget the 4. So I'm so sorry. Okay, so we're solving for x. X minus 31 3/4% times x is equal to 174 4/10. Okay. Then you select A. Your hand was, yeah. I got you, Michael. I know, I was like, what? I know. When I was trying, sometimes I try these problems out because it helps me to figure out where the places that people might have difficulties. Yes, some schools do. There's always a difference between private and parochial and public schools, and then also some districts, and depending if they had a teacher full year or if they have long-term subs. It's a hot mess. That's why there's no consistency. Oh no. No, it doesn't equal 174.4. Okay. Nope, C. Okay. Okay. Hi, Loops. All right, local trap star, we got the B. Jen, we got C. Before you go to work, please, I want to see how you do this problem. All right. Okay. Hey, Candy. All right. So first thing that we need to do is we need to convert this, okay, into a decimal, okay, since we have nothing but decimals there. So we really, the 31 3/4. 3/4 is equivalent to 0.75. Think about it. 3 out of 4 quarters. But they're saying that this is a percent. That means I need to move this decimal place over 2 places to the left. Okay? That's how I convert 31 3/4, okay, percent into a true decimal. So this is what you're going to get. You're going to have x minus 0.3175 times x is equal to 174.4. We want to solve for x. But right here, we got like terms. So this is 1 minus 0.3175. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like. Where'd my paper go? I'm going to use this one. So if it's 1, and we got to line it up with 3175, so that means I need another 0. Okay, so that means I got to borrow from this 1. So now that's a 0. If we make this a 10, that means we're going to make this a 9. This is going to be a 9. This is going to be a 9. And the last one's going to be a 10. Okay, because if I borrow from here, I got 9. I got to borrow from the 9. Then I borrow from the 10 to make this 9. I borrow from the 10 to make this 9. So 10 minus 5 gives me 5. 9 minus 7 gives me 2. 9 minus 1 gives me 8. 9 minus 3 gives me 6. Have my decimal lined up and my 0 leading. So this is what this is. With the X. Okay. So now what we have to do is we got to divide both sides by my 0.6825. You see how crazy this is? But you got it. Now, we can't divide with a decimal in the divisor. That means we need to move this over 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means we have 6,825. So if I move the divisor's decimal place over 4, that means I have to move this decimal place over 4. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're really going to have to figure out. Use your answer choices. Okay? Use your answer choices. Okay? Okay? So we got a 1 and we got a 2. So what you want to do is if you have your 6,825, if you multiply it by 1, it's going to be itself. If I multiply it by 2, let's see if it gets us closer to what we need to divide by. So this gives me 10. 4, that gives me 5. This is 16. 12, that gives me 13. This gets me closest to my 17. So if I'm doing it by 2, that means I can get rid of A and B because they both start with 1s. The 1s is not going to cut it. We're going to have to do by 2s. Okay. Where did I get that number for X? Remember, the X has a 1 in front of it. So you're doing 1 minus all of this. That's how we got this. Okay. So now let's subtract. This gives me a 0. I have 4 minus 5, can't do that. I need to borrow from here to make that into a 3, to make that into a 14. So when we have our 14 minus 5, that gives us our 9. Then we have 3 minus 6, can't do that. Got to borrow from the 7 to make that a 6. Then we got a 13. 13 minus 6, that gives me my 7. Now 6 minus 3, boom, that gives us 3. All right, don't have to worry about the 1 minus 1 because that gives me 0. Then we could, and we have to, bring down the next 0. So like we saw, we have 37. So we know that it has to be more than 2. Is it going to be a 5 or is it going to be a 6? Well, let's see. So if we have 6,825, we multiply it by 5 compared to 6,825 multiplied by 6. Let's do the 5 first. 5 times 5, carry the 2, that gives me 12. Carry the 1, that gives me 41. Carry the 4, that gives me 34. All right. Well, this is 37,900. This is 34,125. If I multiply it by 6, 5 times 6, that gives me 30. 6 and 2 is 12 plus 3, that's 15. Carry the 1, 6 and 8 is 48, that gives me 49. So we have our 36 plus 4, right? 39, that gives me my 40. That's way too much. That's over that. So that means the next digit has to be 5. With all of that, C is your answer. You could keep going, but why? Okay? Because since that next digit is going to give me a 5, and we already calculate that 6,825 times 5 will give me 34,125. That works. So we were comparing 5 to 6. The 5 worked. So that means C definitely has to be our answer. Okay. So for calculators, you can only, for the TEAS test, you can only use scientific calculators. GED, ASVAB, Accuplacer, you cannot use a calculator. Okay, I'm telling you right now. So if you practice doing everything with the calculator, when it comes down to test time, you're going to run out of time. You're going to run out of time. You got to practice how you play. Okay. Because you want to isolate your X. Okay. So how'd you know to divide? Well, in order for you to isolate your X, you always, the opposite or the inverse of multiplication is division. Okay. Yep. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Let's do 2 more. And I know, I loved how it's like 1 minute there's 1,000 people and they're like, oh no, that's too much. Well, I don't know what to tell you. Because this is exactly what you're going to see. If you want to get into those officer levels, you're going to have to get through some of the states. And especially if some of you are thinking Navy, you need Calc 3. I love when people are like, yeah, I want to get into the Navy. I'm like, all right, are you good at math? No. Yeah, let me tell you. I'm sorry I have to be the heartbreaker, but you need, if you want to get an officer level, you definitely need to pay out Calc. Definitely. Light work, there you go. All right. Okay. All right, so what do we have for 11? 4 raised to the negative second power equals, is it A, 16, B, negative 16, C, 1/4, or D, 1/16? Okay, so I have D's, I have a couple A's, I have some D's, I have a B, I have an A, I got B. All right. Okay. So we're saying D's, we're saying A's, we're saying B's, we're saying D's, we're saying A's. All right, so everyone is not saying C. So it's either A or B or a D. Now, when you have a negative exponent, in order for us to change from a negative exponent to a positive exponent, we have to do the reciprocal. Anything, if anything, make into a fraction, put it over 1. Okay? All right? So, we need to flip. The action of flipping, so that means the 1's going to be the numerator, the 4 is going to be in the denominator, but my exponent is going to be positive. Okay? So now we got 4 squared. So 4 squared, that gives me 16. So we have 1. Thank you. you, 16th. So your answer is going to be D. Okay, so that's one of the basic principles of exponents. Anytime you have a negative exponent, thank you so much for the love, appreciate it. All right, you got it? Good. All right. You always want to flip it, make it into a fraction if it's a whole number, and flip it. Now, here's another thing. What happens if, let's say, it was 1 over 4 raised to the negative second power? All right. Okay. So this is what's going to happen. You're still going to flip it. So by your act, because now it's in the denominator, if I wanted, we can flip it up top. So that gives me my 4 squared over 1. So this would give us 16 over 1, which is just plain 16. Okay, so if the negative is in the denominator, flip it to the top to make it positive. If your negative exponent is in the numerator, drop it to the bottom to make it positive. Okay, all right. Okay. All right, last one for today. So if 3 raised to the n equals 9 and 4x minus n equals 6, what's the value of x? Is it A, 2, B, 3, C, 4, or D, 5? It does help with calculus. This is just a lot of the foundational piece. All right, Pablo, good. AAA is saying 2. Okay. Okay, Sky High, thanks for sharing the live. Okay. So we're saying a whole bunch of 2s, got some A's. Okay, Jamie Lynn with an A. Laura saying B. Thank you. Plug in for X. Okay, replace. Let's see what our answers are. Yeah, I don't really do vectors that often. Okay. So we got our 5, we got a 2, we got our B's. All right. Okay. All right. So we got A, we got B. All right, so let's take a look at it. I know some people are like, I just need more time to calculate. I'm like, all right, not a problem. I can think, I can hear you all the way over here. I guess we're supposed to get some weather today. And it's been a while from you. All right. Okay, Amanda. Welcome on in. All right. Tata's the same A. All right. So let's take a look. So we have, let's break it down. We have 3n is equal to 9. 3 to the what power gives me 9? 3 to the what power gives me 9? There we go. We got 2. Thank you. Got 2, got 2, got 2. Awesome. Now, we're going to still take this answer of 2 and we're going to substitute it for the n in the equation. So it's going to look like this. You got your 4x minus your n equals 6. And our n is 2. So now, let's not worry about this stuff up here. Let's worry about what's going on down here. So we want to solve for x. First thing we need to do is isolate. So we see minus 2, we're going to add 2. Now we have our 4x is equal to 6 plus 2, which gives me 8. So if we divide both sides, because the inverse of multiplication is division, we have x equals 2. And what they want us to find? They want us to find the value of x, which is 2. Okay. All right. Hey, Sugar Plum. All right. Kaden, hello. All right. Screaming D, I see you. All right. Oh, you just don't like how math was presented to you. That's okay. I'm here to help. All right. So that's what we're going to be doing for today. That's enough. I think we, especially me, did enough brain power to last for the rest of the day. Yeah, definitely not. I still got stuff I got to do. You know, like laundry and, adult stuff. Crap. Adulting sucks. Well, sometimes it's cool. Majority of times it sucks. But anyway, it comes, it hits you no matter what. But give me some time to upload it, okay? This is where you can go to get all of my things. Go ahead and subscribe, do all that. It's a free subscription. I know, right? Your brain. Not a problem. I actually enjoy coming here, breaking down concepts. And it was funny because the last problem that I just did, I felt like this is probably why I like this music in the background, because it reminds me of Mr. Rogers. And I'm like, am I your new Mr. Rogers? Like, can we make that a thing? Oh my gosh, too much. Did laundry on Friday. I hope you did it after 7 o'clock, because you will pay less after 7 p.m. on Friday. Okay? I know, right? In a few weeks. You're getting it? Oh, good, Gmail. Appreciate it. I know, so soothing. I was like, maybe that's why. Every time I try to play something else, I feel like I'm rushing. And then I'm like, that's what it reminds me of. Like, all of a sudden, I'm going to put the sweater on, switch to shoes. And actually, I do that. Holy shit, I'm Mr. Rogers. Okay, so anyway. But if you want, you got the YouTube channel, you got this. You can help you with that. If you want to order in my books, I am currently working on something else to better help you guys. I'm trying as best I can, as everyone else is doing. I'm using what I got to get what I want. And of course, I love the likes. I love the hearts. Thank you so much for, oh my gosh, 51.9. Look at you guys. Look at you go. I notice the calmer, slower you. I know, right? Instead of me throwing things across rooms. So if anything, I'm trying to think of what are some things based off a lot of these lives, what can better support you, as well as, give me some resources that I can actually sell. So that's what I mean by use what I got to get what I want. So if you also are in need of tutoring, go ahead. If you want to join the course, if you're just like, Audrey, I haven't seen math in forever, don't sign up for a 4-week course. Please, just hear me out. And I know it may come off very arrogant, and if it does, I apologize ahead of time. But if you haven't seen math in a long time, and you're gonna go to a college class, don't take the 4-week class. You are going to be learning so much so quickly to the point that you don't know how to savor it, how to break it down, and how to apply it, because you're just like, I just want to get this assignment done. All right. If anything, not to promote, but if anything, I have these courses. It's self-paced. As much as you go into it, I know a lot of people love the romance of going back into a classroom. But it's not so romantic when you're sitting in the classroom and you're like, I'm struggling and no one's helping me. Okay. So you have those options. Yes. And it's hard. And it's like, you're trying to keep up with your peers. You're trying to keep up with people that you haven't, that they just got out of school. And then sometimes you might be the oldest or the second oldest person in the class. And, it does feel a little intimidation, but you can do it. You can get your GED. You can get your ASVAB. You can get everything that you want to get. It's going to take time, but it's going to take effort. Okay? So I'm here to help. I'm here to break things down. Trust me, I understand the struggle because the struggle is real when I was learning it. And now look at me. I'm a math teacher. Don't ask me how that happened. I really don't know how that happened. But here we are. Okay, so I was not born a genius. Okay, I did not come out the womb already, trying to break down radicals and stuff like that. No. God, fractions, word problems, hell no. It was terrible. I had those teachers that would put me in a corner, give me a piece of paper with tons of problems on there and said for it, I need to do it while the other class is learning other things. And I didn't know why I was being separated. I've had teachers that would literally just say, you need to go back to where you came from. It was a different time, but not so different nowadays. I've had teachers that were supportive, but then they left and you just felt abandoned. So a lot of this stuff, my parents, when it came to algebra, they weren't strong in it. I remember seeing my mom getting a tutor writing, and this is back in the late 70s, early 80s at this time, writing a check for a tutor for $125. And I was wondering, why are we paying $125? And I told my mom I don't want to go back to that tutor because all the tutor did was just sat there, watch her TV, and just gave me practice problems. That's why I'm not that type of tutor. Okay. I know how to break down concepts, how to reach any child, and I use my experience and my expertise because I know what it feels like to sit and cry and just like, why am I stupid? You're not stupid. You learn differently. You need more visualization. You need someone to break it down slowly. And that's why I'm here. Okay? So, enough of that. Right? Not a problem. Thanks, Big Al. Okay. Yes. So you can pause and play? Definitely. Yeah. And I think next week, I'm also going to probably do like certain sections like I used to out of my notebook. I might be able to like redo factoring. I don't really care if 1,000 people come, if like 2 people come, if it helps those 2 people, I'm happy. Okay. So, but I know if you want something really deep down and something that's very specific, you might want to hire me as a tutor. And I know it may cost some people some money, but hey, I'm giving it to you at a discounted rate. Okay. All right. Okay. Love you guys. You guys can definitely do this. Just reach out. Let me know if you have any questions about anything. Just let me know. You can just message me, or you can hit that Service Plus button somewhere on your screen and just leave me a message. Don't just leave me a message, hi, because I'm going to delete it. I don't have time, right? So if you do need some assistance, or if you need some direction, maybe you want more calculus, I can direct you to a person that's really good at calculus and be able to break those concepts down. All right. Have an amazing day. I will see you tomorrow, and we're going to continue on with this stuff and then possibly do some SAT stuff on Monday and maybe individual instruction for Tuesday. And I have to see what's going on for Wednesday. All right. Love you all. Take care. Bye now.